Follow the Path. The Bears Grove is adult-level discussion of role-playing as a storytelling art at samchuppmedia.com.
Hello and welcome to another Bears Grove podcast. So glad to have you here in the car with me. And I wanted to talk today a little bit about safety tools. And I know that talking about safety tools is not exactly the most exciting thing in the world. But it's something that I find to be very important. Why? Because I want to live a life that doesn't harm other people. That's like a very big deal for me. I don't like to be part of harming others. That's the first reason why. The second reason why is I want everybody at the table to feel comfortable when I'm playing with them. So I don't want to feel like we might hit, we're going to have problems. We're going to hurt someone's feelings. We're going to hurt someone emotionally. I'm not interested in that. So in my experience, what is important to do is to utilize whatever safety tools you can to help avoid this. The truth of the matter is we all live in a world today where it is not uncommon to have trauma in your background. And the more we find out about this, the more we realize that a lot of folks do. So what I try to do is to provide safety tools to my players in order to protect them, if they will, to a certain extent, but also to facilitate a good, open exchange of ideas. And what you can do as a GM is to create a culture in your gaming group of mutual assistance and protection, mutual encouragement, and so on. And I saw on a game listing today something about the Loxton technique. And so I did some searching, and I discovered on the Loxton, discovered the Loxton technique written about at a really cool blog called Thoughty, Thoughty, and and I hope I don't get the name wrong, Bo Sheldon. Bo is an awesome person I met on Twitter. Haven't actually ever spoken to him, but I really do like everything they've come out with, including something that's based off the Loxton technique called script change, which is a safety tool that I recommend. The Loxton technique article talks about how a person has PTSD once you hit a landmine, as it were, in a story. Once you are essentially impinging your trauma, if you're reliving actions or experiences from the past while you're in the present, that is a key concept of PTSD. And what this technique talks about is the fact that once you're triggered, once you've hit that landmine, you can't unhit it, okay? And no amount of stop or, whatever will erase that. And there are people out there who have been gaslit, okay? And gaslighting, if you don't know, is a technique. It's a mental manipulation technique that people use sometimes. They either use it consciously or unconsciously, but they use it as a means of causing a person to doubt their own reality, okay? And this is not cool. But part of the wounds of having had gaslighting used against you is that you really need for people to not do that anymore. Okay? Like, as a person, you've been hurt by this process. You need for people to not deny or negate anything that happens to you, and try to convince you that no, it didn't really happen. And to a certain extent, when you use an X card or you draw a veil over something, what that ends up happening is it's like you're saying that's not real, that didn't happen. Okay? When here we are with a person who's very clearly impacted by what actually did happen, and that's not going away. So the writer of this goes on to say that, you know, there's different kinds of accommodations that need to be made for different kinds of people, and sometimes what you need to do to accommodate one group of people is counter to what another group of people needs. And the only way to really equitably approach that is to involve them in deciding what accommodations they get. So going back to safety tools, that's what script change does to a certain extent. If you get triggered, what it's saying is, if somebody runs into one of these emotional landmines while they're gaming, they should be the ones to be able to say, okay, look, all right, now I feel a certain kind of way. This is rough for me, but either, you know, I want to keep going, but I have to let you know X. Like, for example, let's say, you know, I have to let you know that if the dog dies, it's not going to be okay. Or I have to let you know that I don't want this to turn into a suicide. Or whatever. Okay? There's a lot of flexibility and leeway when you're using script change. There's different signs and symbols that you have, and I don't have it in front of me, and I can't give it all the best reading by, you know, letting you know about it. I encourage you to go and look at it and learn it and understand it. I have not yet gotten the chance to use it in my games because my players, the past campaign I played in, were resistant to safety tools, like literally resistant, and many of my players, I'm not going to say all of them, and so I had a situation where I really couldn't implement them, but I like them, and I encourage others to do so, and I encourage you to really just not play with people who won't play with safety tools. I think I learned a lot from that situation. So it's difficult when you encounter that in someone that you already know, and that you're already friends with, to have somebody turn around and say to you, you know, Sam, this is ridiculous. Well, it's not ridiculous, okay? People's emotions are not ridiculous. The curious part about that, by the way, is that those people who were against safety tools got triggered. And they got triggered more than once. And I could tell they were triggered. And I did everything I could to help them in their triggered state, even though we had safety tools. They didn't use the safety tools. But my responsibility as a human being is to go ahead and use them anyway, as far as I'm concerned. So a lot of people are going to complain when a person like this has this experience. A lot of people are going to complain, oh, that person is controlling the story. And to them I say, you know, they are. Yep, that's right. They're controlling the story. And that's how it should be. You know, is the story more important than a person's health, mental health? No. Is the game more important than any one person? No. No, it's not. So, you know, if you are going to accuse somebody of using their PTSD symptoms as a way of controlling the story, you need to really look at that. And, maybe you don't want to play with those people. The most provocative of the concepts of this technique has to do with GMing, playing TTRPGs as a healing experience. And I don't know, I'm conflicted about how I feel about that, because on the one hand, I agree that, therapy should be done in counseling with a certified therapist. At the very least, someone who's been trained. However, what I have seen and what I read about today, it is, it's very true that once you're triggered in that space, you are in that space whether you want to be or not. So the best thing to happen is to move forward. Now, is that healing? It could be. We don't know what will hurt or help somebody, but I liken it to a situation where you're playing soccer, let's say, and whether you did it on purpose or not, someone takes a fall, they hurt their leg, you offer them help to get up. Now, the traditional thought is walk it off, it'll be fine. Non-traditional thought, though, is, hey, you just sustained an injury, why don't we have that looked at? Why don't you go sit down for a while? Because the game is not as important as your health. And, there's a lot of gendered stuff with that too. It's like, I'm a tough man and I shouldn't be, exposing my weaknesses, and I shouldn't have, shouldn't tell anybody else that I'm hurting, and that kind of crap, which, to be clear, everybody goes through that to a certain extent, but it was something that was hammered home when I was a boy. Never let them see you sweat, never let them see you cry. That is a very, very powerful underpinning to my experience. And I think that's why we get so many people out there in the world who are against safety measures, safety tools, because they feel like it's weakness, or they feel like using them is coddling, and those words are loaded words, y'all. Seriously loaded. And they're not really applicable, ultimately. So, my suggestion to you all is that you take a look at the script change safety tool, and I'm going to provide a link in the show notes, and see if that's right for you. The reason is because it will help you go through or around a problem, or give yourself options other than just draw a veil over it, or fade to black, or X card, whatever. Okay, it's a way to say, okay, how do we work around this, or how do we work with this situation that has come out of play? And I like that. I like that much better than just a one-size-fits-all kind of situation. All right. Well, thank you very much for listening to me today.
I hope that you have a wonderful day and sweet dreams when you get them.